controlled lighting, and I don't even consider me as an artist. I'm just someone experimenting with it. So I live in Portugal. Actually, I spend half of my time in Portugal and United Arab Emirates. I can't say. I studied to be like a philosophy teacher, but I never worked as a teacher because my husband is a consultant for an American company. He's always traveling around. And I ended up being like secretary, taking care of our personal stuff, like house renovations and everything. So I'm always following him. So I could say that I'm a housewife. So, and that's it, guys. About Polaroids and instant film, I don't have a lot to say because I'm really pretty new to it. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And that sounds like you have a very busy life. I'm sure it's a lot of fun to take pictures all over the world like that. I'm a bit landlocked here in New York since we can barely leave with the current administration. So, yeah, it's a bit scary. Anybody else want to quickly share with us what they're doing and what their work is about?
I can go next.
Yes,
so I'm
yes,
Alessio.
please.
I'm Italian, but I live now for more than 11 years in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam. Photography is an hobby, was an hobby, still probably an hobby because I'm a software engineer. But in 2019, I was always photography because I learned it from my father back in the 80s, 90s. I was just photographing just to keep memories, as I think a lot of us. Then in 2019, due to my wife's works, I rediscovered Polaroid. I discovered Polaroid was alive. I used it again when I was a child. And I decided, I'm always writing software. I need like some side analog things, no more digital. I was around 40. Something normal. If you have a software engineer writing code, you reach a point when you want to stop the work and do something you can touch with your hands. So I just again. I discovered Polaroid, and then I found and used the Impulse A1 and start to play with the double exposure. And during the COVID, I take picture of every corner of Amsterdam, get bored, and start to play with the double exposure more. And now end up, I know that I participate now to a lot of open call of exhibition around the world, group exhibition, interview. Someone called me artist. I think still software engineer, they have fun with the double exposure. I like to see the world in this way. And I'm very focused now in Polaroid double exposure and also film, 35 millimeter, 120, because it's a little bit more cheap. And I can do something else. And that's it. So for me, more photography is just now my way to have fun, to have a break on the normal life. And I'm happy if other people enjoy to see my work. That's it about me.
Thank you.
One thing, I'm Ray with the Click Photography Festival and Photographer's Place Gallery here in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I go way back with Polaroid. I've been using it for a long, long time. In fact, I see Sarah here, who's also on the Click team. Hello to Sarah. But just to show you, I'm going to turn my camera on for just a second, and I'm going to share this with you.
Oh, gosh.
We had the Polaroid 20 by 24 here back in 2017, and it was amazing. It was just absolutely amazing. So big fan of instant film, instant photography, and glad to be here today.
Very good. Yeah, I love
I can follow up after Ray.
Yeah.
So I grew up not far from Polaroid in Cambridge, Mass, and it's just always been in my life. So I've just always loved it. There's Polaroids of me growing up and pictures of me holding Polaroid cameras, vintage old ones. And it's just been a huge part of my life. And I can't really explain it other than I just love it.
Very cool. Yeah, good. Great. Near Polaroid, huh?
And actually, if I could add one more thing, sorry, don't mean to interrupt, but I want to Carolina. You are an artist if you say you are. If you're making art, you're an artist. You don't need anyone's permission. You are an artist. So always remember that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for it. I'm very insecure about what I'm doing. So, yeah.
You know, Carolina, it's the first few times you say I'm an artist, when somebody says, "What do?" You say I'm an artist, feels like you're lying. Then you, after you've practiced it a few times, you establish it. People will introduce you as an artist. You don't have to do it anymore. You know, so just so you know.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Fine.
Yeah,
You're fine.
it's pretty weird for me.
Tell your husband to introduce you as an artist from here on out. That's how you do it.
Well, as a consultant for him, it's something that he don't understand. It's just like he just say, "Oh my God, you are losing a lot of time doing this stuff, you know? Like, just go do something else."
Well, you know, the
But
point is they don't understand artists. If they don't
yeah,
understand artists, that's even great. It's a catch-all for she's a little crazy. I don't understand her, but you know, so stick to your guns. Be an artist. You know.
yeah. I think the important thing is I'm really enjoying it. So for me, it's just something I'm discovering, and it's exciting when I'm working with the pictures. It's very, very exciting. And what I like about Polaroids, it's the imperfection. And I can work with it. It's amazing. I figured out that I could make like mirrors disappear with black and white film, and you can do a lot of stuff. Like it's very, very nice. So I'm really in love with it.
Very good. Anybody else? Would you like to speak? It's Mariella. Can we hear you? You're muted. There you go.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. My English is very poor. I am from Argentina, but I live in Germany. I have been working with alternative photographic processes. And for a few years, I have recently the Polaroid's manipulations is discovered, and I am very excited about it.
Yeah. Well, I think what's so interesting, you know, for me coming to Polaroid originally, my best friend's father was a doctor, and we would go with him when he was going to visit his patients, and he used Polaroid to photograph his patients quite a lot, as in a medical way. And then later on, I was working for fashion photographers who were Ritz magazine, John Swanell I worked for, and they were using Polaroid in the fashion setting to check their lighting. And I started liking the Polaroids better than the final shots. You know, they were more authentic, and it was a much more interesting to me to see the sort of the way it affected the models too, to see themselves as they were shooting. So yeah, so it's got a lot of different background narratives. Oh, somebody else is coming. Okay. Let me not talk anymore because I can talk forever. We've got new people coming in. And people who are joining us a little bit later, thank you for joining us. We're looking forward to having Andreas speak today and share. Should we let Andreas take the stage? Yeah, very good.
Perfect. Thank you so much, everyone. And I'm very happy to see so many familiar faces here. I have to say that honestly, I follow each one of you and your work of it's it's something I'm very happy. I'm very proud to see you today here. I follow each one of you here in the chat. So it's very good to see familiar faces that I have never seen, many of them. And some of them I have seen so long time ago. So I'm happy to see you again, Alessio. It's a small world. But yeah, I mean, you were guys introducing yourself, and I just had a full speech just commenting on what you just said. And as so many of you know, I am Andrés Aguilar. I am the creator of this project called Instant Photographers. And if you don't mind, I'm going to just share my screen so that it's going to make sense that I just show my screen so you have the right background here, because I am not the protagonist of this story. The protagonist of this story is actually that beautiful project that I started more than 13 years ago. A little bit of background about me. I'm almost 47 years old. I was born in Colombia, but I moved here to Barcelona when I was 18. So I basically feel from Barcelona, and this city has a lot of personality, as you all know. And I had let the city to influence me a lot in everything I do. Collecting things from you guys. I'm also a consultant, but I decided to have an alter life, which is based on a balance that is creativity. So when I started curating work, it was for my own profession. I am journalist by career, and when I started into photography around 20 years ago, I decided to start shooting my friends. I went out, Barcelona, nightlife, and I started shooting all my close friends. We were DJs, musicians, live concerts, and that started to be my career. Suddenly I got in my hands a Polaroid 320, a peel apart, and I was just using this old Fuji film, the original one, and without much knowledge about it. So I had no idea about double exposure, chemistry behind it, but then I started learning. And then, of course, I understood that I needed just more than a camera. I started collecting flashes, tripods, specific gadgets that they were inventing. And then I understood that it's just a way of working. You put the work first into that, and then you stay consistent. I started only as a photographer using Polaroid. But then suddenly I realized I had a bunch of Polaroids that were not even shot by me. Were shot by my close friends. Were shot from also by the musicians I was shooting. And then the impossible part of what I started became a practical thing. I saw that suddenly everyone started working around the things, and I want to give a little stop there. I started questioning myself at the beginning of my career also about the part where I consider myself an artist. The first time someone close to me introduced me as their artist friend, Andres, he is the artist friend. I felt a bit like, oh, where do I sit now, right? but how comfortable is the chair I'm sitting right now after being introduced as an artist? I felt actually a bit uncomfortable, but it took me a little time to understand that the nature of us as human is very creative. So I think everyone has this little soul of an artist that you just need to explore and let it go. And that's one of the basic things I use in my daily routine as a curator and editor of instant photographers. But in order to show you what I do, and which is this webpage, I wanted to tell you how the project started. Right, so I mentioned already, I started collecting photographies, having around, but there was no way I could start something by my own. And then I found back in the 2000, I would say 2008, could it be? Maybe, I don't know if someone here knows about that project, but there was this webpage called Polaroid. And Polaroid was the place where a lot of photographers were dropping pictures, and some of them got selected as the first photo of the day or stuff. It got like kind of promoted a feature that's the picture. It goes on and off. It goes on and off because I know someone is still handling the web page, and if I'm not mistaken, is a photographer from France, which I haven't had the pleasure to meet, but that person actually is kind of the starter of what I had in mind, featuring something that has the strong energy to show a picture of the day and releasing something that it belongs to someone. So after that, growing into the Polaroid was easy. I have to mention that I'm living in Barcelona. I got to know the people from the Chandal project. And Chandal is a small shop in Barcelona and they were the part of the distribution of the first part of Impossible in the south of Europe. When I started buying my film, they were already selling for some years, and I was like fascinated about it. So I started a small collection without really having much of initiative, but it's just how you feel it. I was feeling like that part of starting with the project that was Impossible. As you know, it was the Super Sense, and behind it was the Florian Katz. Everyone calls him Doc. And then he started the Impossible project. I was testing. I was one of the group of testers at the beginning. I started buying books and started checking the photographers that were out there, just shooting and learning a lot from them. And then that time was beautiful because I was at that time using the last cartridge, the last packages from the Fuji before they destroyed the machines they were using to build these Fuji film photos, the peel apart ones. When Impossible started doing the kind of copy and they started with this chocolate and blue film peel apart, I was fascinated. My first exhibition was some type of portraits with that chocolate film from Impossible project, which I still have with me somewhere at home. And I loved it, so much texture, so much you can feel it, you can touch it. And the feeling that you can produce this feeling that you get close to a picture and you can almost feel it. It started feeling something personal, right? When I started growing on the project of instant photographers, which at the beginning was called Polaroid of the Day, I had these chapters where I was jumping from projects like Polaroid, talking to the guys from Super Sense in Vienna, the Impossible project, which was connected to them, discussing a lot with Fuji, then later Instax. And then I started getting to know people who was involved in it. And that was easy. Impossible made the life very easy for many people. They were releasing the book from Impossible, the first one where they were showing the pictures of photographers for all around the world, was just the enlightenment to my career. I wanted to also mention that I understand the type of photographers that I see when we're talking about instant photography. And this is, you all know about it. Instant photography, it's something that it's so personal. You don't have to go to any studio and process the picture to get the image. It's something that you shoot in your room. It's something that you shoot to your family. It's something personal, something intimate. And it's linked to that part of personal feelings without showing much. I can tell many instant photographers are very shy people, and I understand that. It comes with the format, being introvert and shooting Polaroids, because it's just like that. It's so personal that it becomes a healing process through art. So I started seeing the word healing, especially after pandemic. Many people using the word healing and still shooting a lot of Polaroids. And it became part of the type of portfolios I used to read. Still these days, I see that the part of working with Polaroid is becoming more like expressing feelings that you couldn't do before, having different words to colorful emotions. And I'm getting really excited when I see something that it's so personal and people feels like I'm gonna share this because I'm brave enough to do it. And I get super excited. I like to say when every time I curate an exhibition that those pictures became kind of my children also. I felt them so inside me that sometimes it's burning. And I take that the part of how I work with the curation. I don't know if anyone wants to stop me at some point and ask me anything, because I am very happy if it becomes a discussion, because as you can see, I can start talking and I can give you the story of my last 20 years without any break. But please feel free to interrupt me. Okay, so one once I started talking about curating exhibitions, it became clear that I just had so many people that were getting closer to the project, and I felt like everyone deserved the right respect, because I understand it is not easy. Me myself, I never had a solo exhibition so far. I am extremely jealous with the type of work I do, and when I release a picture that I have been working on, or any type of new technique that I am trying to experiment, I think it's difficult to explore the way I want, or the how I want to feel comfortable with sharing it with people. And I see that very often with photographers. So the first thing I was thinking is how to go in and work into the series. And sometimes a single picture says a lot, but I like seeing series, and the way also how you can present it. That it becomes complex once you approach to exhibitions, because you don't know how to talk right about it. And so many galleries and exhibitions are talking about you can price it, but the people doesn't feel comfortable about how to find that momentum for the first show that you want to have. Um, and I want to say this clearly, this is not just a part of what it's me as a story. It's many people have built ecosystems of help photographers to take that step. So I started looking into what exhibitions or galleries do for photographers and inspire myself in the way they do. So when I started on with this type of work, I had to connect with people. So I started talking to people like the ISO 600 in Italy, the festival, or the people from the Analog Forever magazine. I became very good friend of the people from the Instant Art, which they have in Arles and also in Paris version. Also, when the experimental photo festival started, I was part of the first group that were gathering to start the festival, and it became exciting, right? I also became, for a little short period of time, the partner of the gallery I was using in Barcelona to run my exhibitions, because that ecosystem is important to build. Sometimes just you don't realize how close they are to you until you start taking the big step of approaching these people. Galleries in general are very thirsty about artists. And sometimes, as an artist, when you start on this, you feel like they're so far away from you, but it's not true. They're really closer to what they can do for you, that you don't see it. It's just it's the magnitude of having a four white walls ready for you that you feel like you cannot connect there. But I tell you, many gallerists are thirsty to get to know new art. Of course, there's anything on the scenario, but I'm telling you, believe on the new galleries. Once you want to start a new gallery, they're thirsty. They just want to understand how the things are running out there. And I am this type of person. Barcelona, for instance, have this on Thursdays. There's always openings. So I'm this type of person that every Thursday night I try to go and run around Barcelona and find the best 2 or 3 openings and get that satisfaction for myself. Once you get this satisfaction, what you find many times is to find a good mentor. And then that's what I understood that it was lacking out there. Sometimes this type of distance makes you feel like you don't connect. And so I started talking, like, I don't know, 10 years ago with the closest photographers I knew. And I was explaining, look, we've been running exhibitions, we've been running festivals, but there's still these photographers that I see at, I don't know, let's say experimental photo festival. They don't talk to anyone. They want to enroll on all workshops, but they're in their bubble because they are too shy to speak out. And then once you connect with them, and I can tell you many are fit in that situation. Once you connect to them, what you find is an amazing world of photography that you just start digging and digging, and you pull the string, and then they suddenly show you thousands of boxes of shoes filled with Polaroids, and then you find an amazing scenario. So I started mentoring, and later it's becoming this type of job that I consider an arts manager, or let's call it, someone who represents artists. I don't really add the title to it. I just start talking on their behalf, and it becomes fun. So when the people start sending or sharing work, everyone says, "Oh, those are not my best photos. I don't have a real series. I don't understand how to present my work." And so you need to find the connection of nothing is perfect, and then you need to share the coherence and seriousness, the consistency that is behind every work, and follow up. You need to dig sometimes on really uncomfortable paths to find the reason why a photographer is going there to that specific style. I wanted to start showing you a little bit of what I had over the last years, but I wanted to show you, maybe started from the last one. Instant Flashes Urban Traces it's the last exhibition I curated, and it was linked to the Experimental Photo Festival last summer, and it was a completely open topic that I could choose, and I could curate it completely without any other person taking the initiative, and it became the last idea I had on my mind for decades. It was about going back to my punk roots when I was a teenager back in Colombia, and in trying to make sense about the destruction and how to heal and build something through art. So let's face it, sometimes when you're a teenager, you are getting to know the world, you're destroying a bit of yourself to understand better things and to learn things. And I had this little thing sparkling inside me. I thought, okay, let's do something out of that. I made a collaboration with a gallery in Barcelona called Bien Cuadrado. It's handled by an a street artist from the UK who lives in Barcelona, and we developed together the idea of, look, you are an alternative gallery. I have this idea of postmodernism into my gallery's exhibition, to the new exhibition, and I wanted to run it with him, and we made this nice work together. And then we discussed what was the best way to do it. So we discussed a lot about the creation. Very important was the creation of something, and after the destruction of something previous, and how to use art to create from there. So everyone had a different vision about the type of work they should present, and I started a curation process that it took me almost a year. Each one of them had a different view of what it means to create art after they're destroyed. And that was beautiful, because at the end, there were 13 photographers that during the days of the exhibition, I could even share private things, but private that I was allowed to say, about how it ended up being on a wall. And I don't like the type of conventional galleries where you hang everything. So it became very, how to say, it was type of a performance that you can play with the works and just make your own version of them. And that's a very line that I like to connect with all the exhibitions I curate, and also with the artists I like to represent. There's a connection. You need to touch something. You need to feel something. You need to wear a gadget to understand something else, like alter worlds that you can see through the photography or the specific pieces. So I'm not going to mention names, but I'm happy to share the links of all these articles later. But you see, there's personal points of view of how to share art. I like to mention, for example, that this work from Annie Canese, it's several pictures. Each one is a single picture, and they're attaching with the magneto. And then basically what the people could do were in the closer in the exhibition was changing the position of the pictures, and then you can create your own version of her pictures, which becomes amazing, right? So you get involved there, and then you understand, okay, the photographer had an idea. What's behind the idea? What do we need to do this? When we started discussing on the process, I was trying to make sense of how does this represent you as an artist? how does it connect with people, and how does evolve, how is it going to evolve into your style and show what it's next, right? And that was very important to start doing at that part, because I could see that people were trying to tempt also the use of series that they used before, and they connected it to something that is going to happen next. And I see that the work from for example, Claire Marie Bailey, she's been doing this series where she is starring of her own work, and we're using a lot of techniques. What I'm fascinated always is this double exposure she uses, and then to feel comfortable to push it a bit further, to move into some more uncomfortable scenarios. And well, you can see, and there's a lot of collages, expressions, ways of bringing other formats into the photography that they represent here, which I'm delighted always to receive. I want to stop here a second. I want to talk about Mila Nijinsky. I met her a couple of years ago in the Buxton Gallery in Brussels. I couldn't find her pictures actually at the exhibition. It was unclear to me where I could see. And then I was really curious to meet her and start having a discussion. So I talked to the gallerist. I asked her, please, I want to know her. I want to get to meet her. And then I told her, like, honestly, Mila, I've seen your work on Instagram, but I never seen your work live, and I cannot find it. It's a gallery and there's plenty of artists, but I cannot see yours. And then she brought me there and she showed me how she uses natural canvas. She takes wood, trees, pieces of metal, all mirrors, and then she takes the emulsion of every single picture and she places it there around. So you had to play with light, you had to play with wind, you had to play with somehow the movement of it to find several scenarios that she wanted to transport there. If you could read between my lines, that thing fascinated me. I really thought next exhibition she had to be there. Of course, it was like kind of clear that if I had to search for me through many angles on a single sculpture and find two or three emulsions that were flying and swimming around it, it had to be there, because it was pushing the format in at the limits. And if you have the chance to follow Mila, you will be fascinated of the type of things she does. We had also a fantastic performance she did during the week of our festival, and representing the process that she had, because she developed everything working in the woods with natural products, dancing, feeling, shooting Polaroids from different angles, and those type of things, people is somehow scared to go to and to use, but it was just wonderful. So that was my last exhibition, but it's becoming clear also when I look back that every single exhibition that I have been curating using also artists I represent, what I started seeing is the moment that you start taking care of artists, you feel it different, because it shifts the emotion. And sometimes you had the feeling that specific artist had a previous ego, that it's not an ego, it's just part of a sensibility, it's protection, it's warmth, our feelings are, and any kind of feelings. Could be bad feelings, could be neutral, could be very good feelings. And they start reacting on objects and representing different emotions. And how you see the audience reacts is different also when the work is physically there. So you get out of web pages, you get out of Instagrams, and then you attend to a gallery, and then you see how it's when the work starts living its own life, and it walks alone. I would like to share with you a bit of more of the history. So part of the history, what happened here, and to get into that last point, was going through projects or doing things with other people. When I started like being very involved on projects, I started working on the 12th project. I was invited by a photographer to join this group. It's kind of the base of the resistance of photography. The 1212 was started by Penny Feltz a long time ago, and it's been handled now by Cromwell Schubert from California, and it's been moving from hand to hand, trying to keep the energy of what it started as a project of sharing 12 pictures in 12 months from 12 different photographers. And that's how it started. So I joined when there was a 12-12 man project, and because the 12-12 project initially started as a female project, but they extended it, and now there is also a 12-12 for guest photographers. There's a monthly contest. There's a lot of things happening around. And I was invited to participate years ago. I am not there anymore, and sometimes I participate as a guest, but that was the biggest challenge, because that's when you get challenged is when you understand how difficult it is. Not shooting only because you have to release something that is inner in your soul. It's this, you understand that some people lives out of this. It becomes part of, you need to do something, otherwise you don't eat. And that's a hard part of being there. And I understand that that's a struggle. And not many people talks about it, but you understand when you're talking to people, that many people who is working as a photographers, many of them, some of them are really good friends of mine, are living through art. And the struggle of it's something you share. And this monthly work was something that we started discussing, sharing, arguing, and then so it makes you really close to the reality of many people that you see in different festivals traveling, and then you see that a single photography was just a part of a whole world that they had to go through to make things happening. I'm showing few people, like the Polaroid Festival, which is not existing anymore, the ISO 600, which is still running. It's Alan Marcheselli in Italy running his gallery, and he runs this festival site. So very good people who is every year incentivizing the part of sharing. And I would like to stop also here on the ISO 600, and then I'm gonna a little bit give you a space there to question me. The ISO 600 is a festival that I am publicly always saying that if you want to start exhibiting as a starter, as a young photographer, and you just have a short period of time and you just want to go there because you love your art, ISO 600 has been always the place I suggest everyone. Why? They are I would say, the best curators of art in photography and insta photography at the moment. What they do for artists is just amazing. There's a lot of respect, understanding. They have a very good feelings about every single work. And I'm very open on saying that if you ever want to start sharing your work in a safe place where you're going to be respected, but the quality of your work is going to be closer to your initial results, because they listen to you and they accompany you during the process, it's ISO 600. That's the place to start. And I wanted to also really mention it really with my heart. And these guys are great. So it's somewhere that people should start. I cannot just take this away. Okay. So I wanted to maybe give you also old memories. People who started in photography on this format, they ran through festivals like what I showed before, Polaroid, the Polaroid Festival. These people, it's still out there doing a lot of pictures, and maybe a lot of people being involved on those type of exhibitions have been around me for years, and we still like kind of talk a lot about what's next. So once you see people like the Experimental Photo Festival or the Instant Art, that constantly are bringing the new artists. Try it, going there, it's important. If you feel like you cannot connect, it's important to try to connect with people like them. Stefan from Instant Art, Alan from ISO 600, Pablo and Laura from the Experimental Photo Festival, Michael Billing from the Analog Forever magazine. They're just people that you can easily connect. Feel like you can be encouraged to go there. I would like to give you a little bit of time to ask me questions right now, because this is important, but also I'm very happy to show you or to share at some point all the exhibitions that we have run over years. And I'm just showing little pictures of our first exhibition in Barcelona years ago. I can't remember the year. I think it was like 10 years ago, with a lot of photographers that were out there. And then there are some of them actually stopped shooting, and some of them are right now even still releasing pictures of books constantly. And it was just a big exhibition. I love this one. It was the one we felt so close to all of them. And then I'd also like to mention about the curating part. It's important to give some perfume to it. So I always struggle, because I like to do it in a right way with the topics when I'm running an exhibition. Challenging people, it's important. So you see, I had this exhibition, Shadow is a Call, or Urban Traces, or now this one I'm showing on the screen, The Decisive Flight. The people get super confused, of course. But then, of course, I share my manifesto. And it all comes from random ideas that I had, some type of influences, how it feels not producing the right light, how when your focus failed, when the flash broke in the middle of the shooting, and all these frustrations, and how you sort it out. And that's part of the challenge, and I think that's super important. I'm going to stop here. And thank you so much, everyone.
I immediately have a question. Just from the last thing you said. So you mentioned a manifesto, and how is that? How much freedom did you have writing a manifesto, or personal freedom? I mean, writing a manifesto as opposed to writing an artist statement. What would you say? What's the difference there for you?
I think you need to work, when you represent an artist, with the empathy. You need to be really empathetic, because you understand that you're dealing with sensibilities. If you have a manifesto for an exhibition, or as a part of work, as a personal work, the type of artist I like to choose, you need to understand also how to connect. Not everyone is the same, but I let everyone show me what they want to do. But of course, I am very transparent in the way I am. In my creative side, I'm very alternative. I like to taking risks, experimenting a lot, and I wanted people to feel that freedom, the freedom of no boundaries when creating. And I can tell I kind of ran away a bit of the conventional photography, only because that reason. My brain works at 1,000 kilometers per hour, and I prefer that I connect with people who can play around that creativity, and the manifesto becomes only a guideline. But I'm not setting that you have to follow that line, and actually like the people that likes to go out of that line and explore it in their personal side.
Yeah, you used the word uncomfortable a couple of times. Do you want to explain what you meant by that? Because I thought that was a really interesting hint.
Yes, because no part is easy. My part is not easy. Their part is a chaos. It's crazy. It's wild. So when it feels like you have a sparkle that sometimes you have no energy, I think is where there's more energy. When you are creating something that is going to be a conflict with the gallerist or with the representants, it's where the energy is, because then you're creating something that people will look at you. Then it's the part where your creation becomes important. That's where you have to pay attention, not where the picture looks so beautiful. It's where the picture becomes a part of a mechanism that brings another idea. So I like to connect with works that will connect to a next work. So my question is, it's usually that. What's next? What are you gonna do next after this exhibition, or after this book, or after this single series? What's next? Because I am thirsty of knowing that. So the comfortability is, finding the spot where you go and touch the painful part and awake some of this strong feeling that you need to explore.
Okay, thank you. I've taken too much time already. Let's have somebody else ask some questions.
This is Sarah. I actually have a question about your mentoring. Where can we find more details about that?
Well, this is a very personal work I do, because when I start looking into my exhibitions or discussing with potential buyers or sellers, I go around. I do a potential scouting. So if you really want to discuss Sarah, we can start talking. I do this on a freelance way, and I start discussing. What is your next step? I can read your portfolio. I can help you building your own press information, and start talking and digging. This is just, I have to say this openly, I'm not charging for this, because I think it's important that you feel like you shouldn't charge for this. The first steps are very important at the beginning to feel understood. We can start. That's how I started at the beginning. Of course, there's a point I also start collaborating in a more active, and this is where you start selling, and when you start connecting to galleries, and when you start doing things. But at the beginning, it's only an altruist work from my side. I've been there, so I help you there. So I'm happy to connect with you, Sarah.
I appreciate you paying forward all of that. That's wonderful.
You have to pay back what you received before.
Yeah. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Marvin, do you have any pressing questions? Anybody else have anything that they'd like to ask?
I have a question, Andres. Very basic question. For example, if I'm contacted by someone and they say, "Oh, okay, we would like to show your piece here in our gallery," and when they decide to discuss the price, so I have no idea. So I say, "Oh, I don't know." How do you set a price for the artwork?
That's a really great question. Thank you, because that's where I can stay hours discussing and checking your own work. Basically, the to me the rule is very straightforward. How much time you spend studying, how much effort you took into it, how many materials you're spending on creating your own work, and make a calculation. You should understand that the process is not just how long it took you photo shooting, it's the whole process until you got there. It's different in each situation, but of course I'm always saying that you need to be consistent with what in the way you appreciate your work. You need to add a consistent price. There's people like me, or people like gallerists, that can always guide you through the rationale of the cost. But every artist sees that in a different way. I would say that the line to me it's always like that, very clear. How much time you studied, how much is the cost of everything you have invested in it, and how long it's taking. And add a good price of that time, because the time you spend as an artist creating, it's the most valuable thing you have. Because many people don't understand that silence, reflection, the inner energy that you spend on each work, that's part of a cost, and people is afraid to give that value to it. And I think you need to understand that that's something that you always need to consider. Same as I said to Sarah, I am very happy to take a lead and help you there, because that's super important to have a look and just understand.
I think somebody at Click. Well, I've forgotten what's your name at Click? I'm so sorry.
Oh, I'm Ray with the Click
Ray,
Festival,
Ray, I've
and
got
yeah,
it.
and actually that is such an excellent point that you just made about the value of your work. That you need to. There's more to it than just the materials that you spend there. It's your time, it's your life, it's your everything, and it may not be a true story, but I when these subjects come up, I always like to refer to this story. But the story is told that Picasso was sitting at a cafe in Paris one day, and a lady walked by, saw him there, and praising him for his work, and asked him, "Could you just make a little something for me?" And so he took a napkin, did a little doodle, gave it to her, and he said, "Well," and she asked, "Well, how much he want? How much would you like for this?" And he gave her some price, which she thought was like very high. And she said, "My God, that cost so much. It just took you a minute." He said, "No, ma'am, it took me a lifetime."
Yeah.
So I think that's something that artists don't put enough value on is the journey it took them to get to that point. And there is, there's something that needs to be acknowledged for that. So that's a great answer, Andres. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Ray. Well, I wanted to say something regarding the value artists have regarding their own work, and that's part of how you also can price it. When you meet curators or collectors or gallerists, they are sometimes not looking for perfection. What they need is the coherence and seriousness behind the artist. The consistency is very important. It matters. And the follow through, it's important. You recognized immediately you recognize the effort behind each single piece of art, and then you can understand this has been a process. And once you understand that that artist has been exploring, studying, and understanding the concept behind, you see it immediately. That's why I think the consistency of shooting, creating, do it, don't get tired of it. You need to take it is you need to take it serious, the consistency with the work. In my point of view, people sometimes struggle with the shooting, or sometimes they struggle with the exploring the possibilities to exhibit. But showcasing is never easy, but you have to do it with that consistency, because it becomes clear at some point that that's gonna go somewhere. Clear presentations, the trust you gain, and at the end you become your own agent, and then at the end you don't need collectors or gallerists or people like me. You can do it yourself, but you need to start this process if you're unable to start from somewhere. That's important.
Yeah, I would just say, in the same way that I gave advice on calling yourself an artist and let somebody else say it for you if you're that uncomfortable, practicing saying it's cost this much. Say numbers, just say them out loud. So when somebody asks you, you're ready. And so in a very high-end gallery that we were associated with, the salesperson had a notepad and he would write down the number and show them the number, which I was always so impressed at that point. I was like, oh my God, this is so impressive. He's writing down the number. It must be a big number. But I knew what the number was. But you can write it down. You can say, well, it's this much. And then you write it down and show it to them and you feel more comfortable, Having said that, my partner, you should all laugh at this. My partner, when we were very young, and we had our own little gallery, and people would come on the weekend and look and want to buy things. And he was incredible because he's incredibly good at closing deals. So he would actually say, would you like to give us a deposit now? Right? Which is very important to make that actual close the sale, especially at the beginning of your career, close the sale. And then he was very good looking, I have to say, but and also very brash. And then he would say, what have you got in your wallet? And they would and they'd take out their wallets and hand him cash. Or he would say, would you like to go to the ATM right now? And walk them to the ATM. So what I give you from that is nobody complained. Everybody was quite happy to do it and found that very entertaining. And, so we can feel very uncomfortable about talking about money. But whether you're asking for a little bit of money or a lot of money, it's always a good idea to close your deal and get a deposit so they come back. And I have one other anecdote about that. I don't know if you guys know who Matt Dillon is. He was back in the day. He was a fairly big film actor. He'd just done a really major motion picture, and he came into a bar where I had hung a show from some friends of mine, And he loved this painting on the wall, you know. And he said, well, I'd like to come and get that painting. And I looked at him and I said, why don't you give, the artist is right there, why don't you give him $100 right now? And he did. And I said, and my agent fears that you buy me a drink. Right? And we made the sale. He came back and he bought the painting. But it's okay, you know, it's okay to ask for people to pay for the work. As you say, it's a lifetime, right? It's a lifetime of your experience. And you know, just as you can say I'm an artist, you can also ask people to pay for your work.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not recommending that as a gallery model, by the way. But I'm just saying it doesn't hurt, you know, at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, it happened to me while I was running the gallery, and sometimes the people approached and they were asking about the costs, and I felt at the beginning when I started the little job as a gallerist, I felt a bit uncomfortable to say the price. Yeah, right. So it becomes with practice that you can just easily share the number, and the numbers were discussed previously with the artist, and so everything was written on a white paper, but still say the number. It scares sometimes.
I hope these anecdotes are actually helpful because, you know, they're part of the business. You know, when you get to a certain point and there you're showing the work and the work is incredible. And unfortunately, there's this back end that we have to do as artists in order for people to see the work, you know, and to promote your work. And people feel very uncomfortable with that. And I think, you know, that's a part of it's okay to feel uncomfortable. That's another place. It's okay to feel uncomfortable about promoting your work.
Yeah, that's true. Completely true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, really? 1 hour? Yeah, 1 hour went away already.
Yeah, it did. Wow. Wow.
Are all the links? Oh, I'm sorry. I just said the links to some of the artists, things you're talking about are on your website there that we can do a little deeper dive.
Yes, absolutely. They're all there.
Yeah, great. Wonderful. Thank you. This is wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm feeling
Thanks
very
a lot,
inspired
Andres.
at the end of this. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed all the information and the way you're thinking about this work.
Thank you very
And it
much.
sort of got me out of my own head a little bit, so that's fantastic. You know,
Thank you everyone for joining. I'm always very happy to share what I do. And yeah, if you want, just drop me a line, and I am more than happy to check out your portfolios and help you there. It's important.
Thank you so much. Well, if that's it, I'm going to give it a wrap. And thank you all so much for coming. I've really had a great time listening and meeting you all. And I'm going to look forward to looking at your web. Now that I'm going to look at your pages more, knowing who you are a little bit more, and it's always more interesting once we've met. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.